Hi everyone, it's Tasha. Welcome back to my channel. You know that I'm always in thrift shops looking for high-end style home decor for a lot less than retail, and this week I'm bringing you along with me to the thrift shops to see what we can find, and then I'll show you what I brought home and how I'm styling it. Come on and join me for this thrift shop challenge. Well, hello and thanks for joining me, jumping right into some thrift shopping footage today as usual. So I'm going to lots of different thrift stores today and seeing what I can find. This store in particular is one that I don't go into a whole lot, so that was kind of exciting because it was lots of different stuff than the last time I was there, which was several months ago. And as I browse these shelves, I'm looking at lots of different categories and all the different places in the thrift shop, but I'm on the hunt particularly for special pieces, things that add warmth and add charm to our home. I'm looking for the kind of items that tell a story, like a vintage tray, maybe a beautifully textured vase, or a handcrafted frame that feels one of a kind. I feel like it's these thoughtful, well-loved details that can make a house feel like a home. And as you saw in my video when I talked about my design goals for 2025, that is really what I'm after this year, and I'm trying to hone in on these items that bring a sense of coziness and personality. I'm focusing on materials like wood, ceramics, metals, pieces that age beautifully, that have a heritage feeling, that can add a richness to a space. For me, thrift shopping isn't just about necessarily finding a bargain, it's also about discovering pieces with character and giving them brand new life. And these items often have stories to tell. Bringing them into your home can add a layer of depth and personality that you just can't buy straight off the retail shelf. So retail shops are great, and I definitely buy new items also that I love, but when you shop secondhand, there's just something about it. You can step outside of the world where so many people end up with the same decor pieces as you, and instead you can begin to curate something that's a little more unique and that reflects you. And the best part is that thrift shopping is an opportunity to get creative. You see a table and you imagine it refinished or restained, or you spot a vase and you picture it styled with your own modern twist. It's all about reimagining the possibilities and making each piece your own. So for me, it's not only the thrill of the hunt, although that's definitely a big part of it, wondering if you'll find a treasure when you walk in the shop, but it's also the combination of knowing that you'll see unique items, and often vintage items as well, and knowing that at least in theory, although prices are going up even at thrift shops, those will be available at fairly reasonable prices. And it's that combination. So it just makes it so fun, and it's one of my favorite things to do. So now let's look at what I brought home from the thrift shops this week. The first find that I brought home with me was a truly interesting find. This is a drawer from an antique printer's cabinet, also called letterpress, a print case, type case. It had many names, but apparently these held letterpress equipment, and those tiny little compartments in the drawers were perfect for storing various letters and characters needed for the press. My full-time job being in publishing, I found this a really interesting piece. This one is made by Hamilton Manufacturing, and it has this lovely patina all over the front. You can tell that it's very, very old. It did have a few little pieces of damage and just oddities in it, but that's to be expected with such an old piece. On Pinterest, there was this idea where you could turn them vertically and kind of use it as a wall shelf, and in this particular example, they are using it for lots of rocks and shells and feathers and little just natural elements, and that resonated with me because my little one loves to collect things like this. So we put this up on the wall of her playroom, and now she can have a place to store all of the little treasures that she finds outside without them being in the way elsewhere. The next thing that I picked up from the thrift shops was this Audubon print of these 3 rock grouse. I was really drawn to this overall. I like the size of it. It's a pretty large piece of art, but also definitely the colors. As you know, in our home we have mostly a neutral background, and I'm trying to work in a little bit more of the color blue, and this one just had beautiful colors, I think. You could see perhaps from the tag there that I paid $6 for it, so I just removed that and gave it a good cleaning. And then one other thing that I wanted to do to this piece was to go in with with some of my favorite rub and buff color, which is European gold, and just take out some of the shiny yellowness of the gold frame. I find that this tone of rub and buff always works for me to give it a more neutral sort of gold tone without that bright yellow. There's the before and after that you can see what the color change is, and I think that that worked really well. So I have the perfect spot for this piece around towards our family room in the back of the house. I also picked up this week this set of 2 hurricane vases from the thrift shops. The bigger one was $9.99 and the smaller one was $5.99. I thought that these were really pretty, and they caught my eye first of all because they were a set of 2, which is sometimes hard to find at the thrift shops. They reminded me right off the bat of these hurricane vases from McGee & Co., which are $168 a piece right now. I think that these are so pretty in every shot that I've seen them styled on her site though, and so I thought I would try them in my own home. I picked up these little container thingies from the Dollar Tree. They're just meant to, I think, hold different paints in the craft section, but I'm just going to be using these and gluing these to the bottom of each one so that I can place a taper candle inside of them instead of just a pillar style candle. If you're someone who might have a chance of burning your candles all the way down, then you might want to use something metal, maybe like a metal coupling from the hardware store, but for me these are going to be fine because I never let my candles burn down that low. So this works for me, and I'm styling them here in the middle of my dining table. And then also particularly I have in mind to put them on a sofa table that's going behind the sofa in this room, and I think that these will look really beautiful here in front of the bay window without detracting too much from the view. Another thing that I picked up at the thrift shops was this basket tray. This is very heavy and very well made. It cost me $3.99. This was made by Pampered Chef, and so I'm pretty sure that it was originally meant to carry a casserole dish. So that is why it's very sturdy. The handles are sturdy, the bottom is very sturdy. So I'm going to be using it in my daughter's playroom. Actually, I've been trying to put some of her things into prettier containers and just make it a little nicer looking out there. So in addition to those 2 baskets that I have from Amazon on the left, I'm just adding this new basket here, and this is the perfect place for her to drop her drawings. She does a lot of little drawings that she wants to keep close by, and so I feel like rather than just buying a simple mesh or metal paper storage bin like I could, as you can see here, I actually paid a good bit less for this beautiful basket that has a lot more visual interest and is just a higher end look in my opinion than the mesh. So sometimes being patient and looking at the thrift shops definitely pays off. Another thing that I picked up was this little piece of art for just $1. This is an original painting that someone has done on canvas and framed, and I liked everything about this except for the linen matting that's wrapped around that is really actually pretty dirty. Can't see it as much on camera, but it's got some spots, and I tried cleaning it, but it's just a little too grungy looking and it needed some help. So what I'm doing is taking this apart, and I'm just going to be using some fabric to rewrap the matting. I was able to take it apart and remove the painting without any damage, so that was a good start, and I'm thinking I'm just going to wrap this with some new fabric to give it a little bit of a different breath of life. A good while back I showed how I like to wrap matting with fabric, and I showed you a good method for doing that, and I'm just going to show it here again. So first of all, since I kind of loosened up this little frame section when I was removing things, I just went in with my stapler to give it a little bit of reinforcement there, and that worked fine. So the first thing that I'm doing is just tracing the inside of this matting section on the back side of the fabric that I want to use. Then I'm doing some diagonal lines in from each corner. These are going to be marks that I'm going to cut to give me an area that I can fold over the matting. Next, I'm cutting out notches at each corner on the outside of the square just to make sure that there's not too much fabric that I'm going to need to fold over into the center. With something like wrapping paper, you can leave that of course, but with a fabric, it would be a little bit bulky at the corners if I left it. Then the next step is I'm going into the center and cutting out a rectangle in the very center, and then taking my scissors and snipping along those diagonal lines that I showed earlier to give myself little sections to fold over. And lastly, I'm just going in with some hot glue and folding over each section, and I'm making sure to go in very tightly and neatly, especially at the corners, so that it'll look nice and crisp when I flip it over. And lastly, I'm just touching up this frame with some of the same European gold rub and buff that I used on the last frame, just to take away some of the yellowy copperness of the frame and make it a little bit more matted and neutral. You can see the before and after here. This is the before and this is the after. Let me know if you're a fan of the striped fabric that I chose. I am second guessing myself a little bit on this and wondering if it's too busy, but I do think that it's cute, so I'm going to be using it for now and hanging it in our guest bathroom above the towel rack. I think that this is a nice, unique piece. It's not something off the shelves from Target that everyone has right now, and I think that it was great for only $1. And next, I also brought home this little tray that I found. I think it was the first image that I showed you in this video of me thrift shopping. It was $1.50 for this little ruffle edge tray, and that was what caught my eye on this one, was the way that the edges were kind of ruffled and also the cutouts in them. I just thought that it had a pretty patina as well, and I just liked it. So I'm going to be using this first of all just styled here on this little shagreen side table to see how it looks. And this is more of an obvious choice, but you could use this as kind of a coaster as well as a catch-all tray. But I'm also going to be trying this one out hung on the wall, and so for this I'm just using some museum putty and hanging it right above this other little print as kind of a stacked set here. And I think that that's also a cute idea that you can do with a small tray like this. If you think that it's pretty and it's lightweight, you can hang it right on the wall with some putty. As usual, I hope that one of these finds will inspire you to head out to your local thrift shops and see what you can find for a lot less than retail as well. If you would hit the like button and leave me a comment letting me know what you enjoyed, that would be great. But have a fantastic week, and I will see you at the next video.